coming up right now, an interview with the manager of heavyweight contender Fresequendo, who has been robbed numerous times. If you want to hear some interesting opinions on the Klitschko's, if you want to hear somebody that actually speaks out in favor of the WBC, make sure you take a listen to this interview. Here is our interview we did on Friday with Tom Tsatas. Boxing Asylum listeners, here we are with manager of Fresequendo, Tom Tsatas. Tom, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate this.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine.
So, before we got started here, you're telling us how you just kind of fell into boxing management. So how did your relationship and business relationship with Frace develop?
Well, I used to box when I was younger, and I used to fight competitively, a little more martial arts. So my old instructor and my partner at the Fifth Street Gym, Dino Spencer, with whom I've been friends for probably 25 years, he called me up. I hadn't seen him for a few years, and he gave me a call. I said, look, I fell upon a boxer by the name of Carl Davis at the time. I think he's still fighting. He says, can you help me manage him? I said, I don't know anything about really the business of boxing. And so I started working with him and promoter Bobby Hitz. I took him out to LA. We fought Travis Walker. They were both undefeated. Got to be a few years ago. And I took him into Freddie Roach's gym where we met Freddie, and he started sparring with, he had just fought, I think, an 8-rounder with Travis Walker. I made him run up these mountains at Runyon Canyon. And we walked in, and I said, we want to spar James Toney. So we were scheduled to leave. And James says, he was training, I forgot, for a fight. He says, yeah, bring him in. This kid's a big, strong heavyweight. I mean, he used to do really well. He's about 6'4", 240. I think he hurt Chris Bird. He knocked out that Calvin Brock, broke a lot of his nose. I mean, he's a good gym fighter. But, lights, action, camera, he used to panic a little bit because he was an amateur. He didn't have a lot of experience. So I'm giving you the long version of the story. So I make him run up Runyon Canyon. He had a black eye. He just fought Travis. And I put him in there with James Toney. He does pretty well against him. And that's how we kind of became friends with James. Fast forward about a year, Frez had just left Don King, or he was in the process of leaving Don King in Papa Trinidad. Came back to Chicago after leaving Puerto Rico. Probably, this must have been 04, 03, 04, or 05 back then. And we just kind of started a friendship. A lot of people, kind of talk about the John Ruiz fight, but it was a really bad experience for him. His manager, Tito's father had retired and kind of sold him off to, pawned him off to somebody. He had a torn labrum. He couldn't even throw a jab. So in that fight with Ruiz, the guy was fighting with a torn labrum, didn't even know about it. So when I brought him here to Dino, we realized, what's wrong with your jab? And then he wanted him having surgery, took a couple years off. And the friendship kind of became, because Dino wasn't boxing, it started out more on the long. That's when I took him to Freddie Roach afterwards, and then Freddie went to train De La Hoya, and we kind of took over on our own. So it's been almost a decade, but that's kind of the long and short of it.
Now, Frace did have those a couple of earlier stop losses, but over the last few years of his career, there's definitely been some very questionable decisions going against him. One that springs to mind for me is the James Toney fight in 2008, which, I mean, like 90% of the people that saw that fight believe it was just an outright robbery. So, in your opinion, since that loss to Ruiz, how many losses has Frace actually deserved?
Well, here, let me go back at all his losses. David Tua, he was kind of, he was 30 years old, got rocked a little bit. Ironically, we were just talking about that at dinner last night, which had nothing to do with this. And I said, because I just happened to see the Ruiz fight. I said, I was watching the Ruiz fight. I go, how hurt were you in that? He says, to be honest with you, because my equilibrium was off. He goes, no more hurt than I've been in sparring. And they wound up stopping the fight after he got hit. He didn't go down. And I think it was the week before was, that big Klitschko-Brewster fight. And there's been some really, I think it was the Brewster, who's that Russian guy that he fought that he lost to? I can't think of his name. But there's been some rock 'em, sock 'em kind of fights where guys have been pretty much out on the ropes and they didn't stop him. He said he was hurt during Tua. He thinks that he recovered within 15 or 20 seconds. Had he taken, and there was a standing A counter in effect, which I thought he should have been given, but he wasn't. He said if he would have taken a knee, he would have definitely recovered and probably would have finished the fight. He said his equilibrium was off. Tua did hurt him, but not to the point where he couldn't have finished the fight. Ruiz was a whole different story. I think he had a lot of things on his mind, and probably lost a little bit of focus. And if you watch the Tua fight, actually, I'm not making excuses. If you watch the Tua fight, he basically snapped his ankle about 15 seconds before Tua hit him clean and hurt him. So he had like a severe sprain. He said, I couldn't get my mind off it when I snapped it. He was trying to move it. If you look at it, you'll see him really snap his ankle. I'm surprised it didn't break. And then moving forward to Ruiz, I just don't think that fight should have been stopped. He said he wasn't even hurt. So we'll count those as losses since, they were stopped, even though I feel they were done prematurely. You've got the Bird fight, which, let's be courteous to Bird and give him maybe 4 or 5 max if you want to be nice to him. But, one judge had it like 118, 111 or something like that, 117, which is a travesty. So George Foreman said that, it's the best judges money can buy. Everybody, if you look at Chris Bird, if you look at I'm putting a video together, if you look at Bird when they're reading off the scores, he looks at his wife and he says, you can see his lips, he says, he won. And you can see by the look on his face that he thought that, okay, they gave it to me. James Toney, I mean, that's another, the closest of the robberies I'd say were, McCall, I'd say it was close, but, you look at the numbers in the fight, Frez buckled him, hurt him a couple times, out hit him, outlanded him. Same thing with Holyfield. Now, they're closer in the sense that when you compare them to Mormack, Toney, and Bird, which were flat out, in my opinion, highway robberies, those fights were a little bit closer. But Holyfield, the guy, I think I've mentioned it to you before, and again, they sound like excuses, and we never really used them, but the guy fought with strep throat and tonsillitis and 102 fever, and still did pretty good. We're just not going to get decisions. I mean, Frez is not a big one-punch knockout guy, even though he has power. But we're not going to get decisions when it goes to 12 round, and he's just either he has to go for it a little bit more, or we have to be on our turf, or that's just the way it's going to be, But when you fight, for the championship and somebody else's, he's going to have to just go for it in the last couple of rounds and go for broke. I just don't see us getting a decision, and that's just part of life. Life's not fair, and you're stuck with it. So that's how I feel about his losses. Now, I can debate anybody who wants to debate the losses because they basically look at BoxRec, they see an L on there, they heard that he lost. That's the extent of it. People who have seen the fights, when you look at the reporters, when you look at Graham Houston, when you look at all the scores of the analysts, when they've judged Frez's fights and the CompuBox numbers, nobody's ever seen him lose except, I guess, the people that count, the corrupt, crooked, pathetic, making $50, getting free travel judges is the way.
There was about 2 of us scored the James Toney fight on an old boxing forum, and there was not one person had the fight for Toney. It was everyone had it for Frez that night.
Yeah,
I agree. It's funny you guys said that, but yesterday I had a bad day in Chicago, so I was looking at some of the videos. I saw that fight about 5 times yesterday, and I'll put a video together. I'll send you guys where round by round, the last 4 rounds, I think Frez. It's just embarrassing. It was so bad. And you hear the announcers saying, I remember the announcers looking up at me after the fight because we talked before. I was worried about it. They gave me the thumbs up. They gave me the wink. They said, you got it. It was just so when they take a point away, if you look at the video, I'll send you guys the video. I'll have it done in a day or two. There's the video where they take a point away from Frez for hitting behind the head. He doesn't even hit him. If you look at it in slow motion, which I slowed it down, he doesn't even hit him. Not in the front, not on the side, not in the back. It wasn't even a punch anywhere. It was pure air. Now, do I expect the referee to see that when it's going on? But, the fix was in. There's no question about it. There was no chance that Frez was going to win. So, when you look at the CompuBox numbers, again, you got, people love James Toney. I used to love James Toney. So I would have probably, but one thing people always get right is when you fight, the fans want the right thing to happen. Then I don't care if it's Manny Pacquiao, I don't care if it's Floyd Mayweather. The hometown boy might get a little bit of an edge. But when it's flat out robbery, people just don't like that, even if they're rooting for a guy, whether it's, like I said, Pacquiao or Andre Ward or Martinez. They want the right thing to happen. And the viewers had Frez winning. Both analysts had Frez winning. The people in the crowd in James Toney's hometown, they kind of they knew it. But, the fighters need to stand up. He's never admitted it. He's never come out and said, oh, it was a good fight. He just couldn't stop talking at the press conference where even Dan Goosen was embarrassed and said, well, let's give Frez a minute. But, damage had been done. And when I went to the WBC convention, just to give you guys an idea of how life works, some guy comes up and he goes, I just wanted to, say I'm really sorry about what happened in California. I want to apologize and see if, I could be forgiven. I said, who are you? It was the head of the California Boxing Commission. I knew he looked familiar, but I didn't remember him. I was just being nice. And he's basically asking me for forgiveness for what he did. Now, I don't know, maybe the guy got sick. Maybe he had a heart attack. Maybe he had a second coming. Maybe he found God and, wanted to do the right thing. But I said, you know what, man, you have to live with yourself. We've gotten by it. Frez is not a drug addict. He's never beat on his wife. He's never been arrested. He hasn't turned to liquor. After all these things, the guy's still a gentleman. And people are still going to, they're going to talk crap about him. And for whatever reason, they're haters. And they're going to love the Klitschkos because, they just think they're great. But life's not fair. And that's what we've learned throughout this whole process.
And let me ask you this. I mean, so many bad decisions get spit out. I mean, it's almost you expect them. In your head, you're trying to find ways that possibly they could give around to someone just to like mentally prepare yourself for what could be coming given the fighter involved. But what do you think it is? I mean, do you think that there is actually very, very fishy stuff going behind the scenes? Or do you think that these judges are just doing their best to keep the top-notch promoters working in, areas that they judge?
I'll put it to you this way. You look at you look at the Pacquiao-Bradley fight. Everybody in the world know that Pacquiao won. There's not one person that's there that said that Bradley won.
I scored it a draw, man. I know.
No way,
I
man.
scored it a draw.
Don't go there, Tom. Don't go there.
It's okay, though. It's okay.
Fine. You scored it a draw. I'll respect that. But no way, when the judge comes on, he said that Bradley schooled Pacquiao, that he can be serious. These guys are not stupid. When you've got the fans, and and again, you were one of the rare guys, because I looked at, people did a poll on writers and whatever, and it was like, 70, 80% to 20. But I respect it if you saw it drive. Maybe you saw something different. I don't know. I mean, I thought Pacquiao won easily. But it's not the only. I'm using that because that's the biggest case. And it happens to everyone. I tell Freds, it just happened to us 5 times or 6, whatever it is. Now, I could see having bad luck once or twice or 3 times, but 5 times they've made mistakes in the guy's hometown. And, and the guys that he hasn't really stopped, I mean, he didn't lose this, but, Mormick's got a pretty good chin. Yeah, Klitschko stopped him because Klitschko's 6'7", 250 pounds, and Mormick is shot. But, guys like James Toney still haven't been stopped. The guy's been punchy in his last couple of fights, and they couldn't stop him. And Frez hurt him, but, didn't put him away. Holyfield, with the exception of Riddick Bowe, Toney did stop him with body shots, but he didn't, really stop him. It's not like Frez has fought these guys that are, he stopped guys like Demetrius King where, in 40 pro fights, David Tua couldn't do it, and, some of these other big name guys couldn't do it. Frez did it. And I was talking to you guys the other day, Robert Hawkins. Nobody's really heard of the guy. He's got 40 professional fights, has a lot of losses, but I think Tua, Samuel Peter, Boytsov, Moskayev, all these guys, Pineda, the guy that Klitschko just knocked out with a jab, they couldn't stop this guy. He was durable enough where he made it through, to the final bell. And Frez stopped him with a broken hand. So, Frez has fought 300 professional rounds against 5 or 6 world champions, future Hall of Famers. Never been knocked out. I mean, he's been stopped, but he never even, he's never even hit the canvas. And I'm talking about some real punchers, man. I'm not talking about, some candy-ass guys that can't, break an egg. So I think his durability speaks for himself. I think his experience. I think, his ring savvy. Muhammad Ali wasn't a knockout puncher, and he's considered the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's the kind of guy that would, stop people late in the game, and that's what Frez does. Not that I'm comparing Muhammad Ali to Frez Oquendo, but they're similar type of fighters. They're not knockout guys. They break you down, like they chop you down like a tree, and they break you mentally. And by the end of the fight, you've probably quit, and that's the kind of fighter he is.
How does a fighter like Frez, who knows that he's just given the politics of boxing that he probably will never get that shot, how does he handle just getting up and taking this just as it is just a job, and he's doing the best he can given the positions that that he's forced to take?
He's, by nature, he's a happy-go-lucky guy. I mean, he gets down like everybody else, but not for long. He just won't let these guys win. He just will not. He's just got that personality where kind of moseys along. He's pretty happy. He's got 5 kids. He's got a beautiful wife and beautiful kids. He's got his health. He's got his faculties. He's 40 years old and he's still 5 pounds off his fighting weight from 20 years ago. He's a healthy guy. He's happy with life, and he's still 40 years old, man. The guy's still out there doing what he was doing, even better than when he was younger. He's experienced. He's been hit. He's had the ups and downs that nobody else has had. Maybe a guy like Glenn Johnson's had him. I give credit where credit is due. But it's just in people's nature. Some guys want to go out and do cocaine and put women's stockings on so they can get some ass. Some guys want to climb through a window and beat up their wives or girlfriends. Some guys, gain 50
regular occurrence
pounds.
nowadays.
It
seems to be a regular occurrence.
Yeah. So basically, some people just turn to liquor. Kelly Pavlik became an alcoholic, even though he was a champion, made money, and people have their own way of doing it. Frez is just so strong and so disciplined, and he goes to church. He believes in God. That's the biggest thing that people have going for them. People could say they want to thank God and then go out and beat their wives and do cocaine. I think it's a little hypocritical. And Frez is no priest. He's no angel. Nobody is. But at least he does what he can, and it's being strong-willed is what it is. A lot more strong-willed than being champion, making all that money and turning to drugs. People want to make excuses about these guys, but that's what they are. They're either drug addicts or they're gamblers or they're alcoholics or and they eulogize and make them out to be great heroes. And I don't want to mention names, but we all know who they are. We all read about them in the papers when they get killed or when they, go off a binge or, Frez hasn't done any of that stuff, but maybe that's the plan God has for him. I don't know.
You mentioned, he takes great care of himself. He's 40 years old. So just a little 2-part question here. First, if you saw that, a little bit of a slip in him where you thought, he could be getting to a point where he could get hurt, would you really be a little bit forceful with him in, making the right decision? And 2, as someone that manages a fighter and watches just what they go through, we keep coming back to James Toney, a guy that, just will not go down, but he's slurring his speech. He's taking ridiculous shots every fight. His fighting weight has literally fluctuated 100 pounds over his career. I mean, does it almost disgust you as a boxing manager that people keep getting him fights?
Good question. As far as if I ever thought I saw Frez, look, Tom, I said, I wish you would just get knocked out once and for all and put an end to all this so I can get on with my life and you can get on with yours. And he laughs about it. But until I see, that he's washed up and I really believe in my heart that he can't do it. Yeah, I mean, we want to do it. We want to do it as a team. We've been together 10 years. But in no way, shape, or form. I mean, him and I hang out 4, 5, 6 days a week, and he hangs out with my best friends, and we all do things together. So it's not like I'll ever make any of my money back, and all my friends and he all know that. But I want to get the guy shot to see if he can do it, at least get him the shot. If he doesn't make it, it's not really about the money, but I'd like him to make some money so, he could take care of his family and his nonprofit foundation. And, we'll go off into the sunset. Whether we go in there with $100 or, $1 million, it's not going to make a difference. I would not let him ever get in the ring if I thought he was going to get hurt. It's not worth it. We have too much fun. He's got too much to gain and more to lose by doing that. So that's an easy. It's not up to me to decide. I'm kind of a capitalist and, let people do what they want. If the guy wants to go out there, people that take advantage of it, they have to live with it. As much as I can't stand what happened was with James. If we got offered a fight with him, I think Frez can stop him. I would not accept the fight because there's nothing to gain emotionally. I mean, I feel sorry for him. I can't speak for what other people do. I personally would not feel comfortable not only doing it if he was my fighter, I wouldn't even want Frez to fight him, and neither would Frez. I'd feel sorry for him. How punchy he is. I mean, I'm sure if he fights here, he has to pass, some scans, so they'll know. I don't know about overseas. People use him to get his name. But I know he's got a wife and kids, man, so I hope it works out for him. And I personally couldn't see myself doing that to anybody, But I don't need the money either. I don't know, some other people, they get caught up in the James Toney name, and they get caught up in the sport of boxing, and they're more fans than they are managers. I'm not really a fan. I can care less if I ever see another fight in my life again, unless it's David Hay or a friend of mine or Frez. I can care less if I ever watch another fight again.
Thanks,
Tom. I really want to ask you some questions on the gym and Angelo Dundee, but I just want to go back quickly on the point we were discussing about the judging.
Yes.
As you say, the Holyfield, Tony fights and stuff like that, even the Mormick fight, I thought they were robberies, probably even slightly the Oliver McCall fight. But just recently, we've had a lot of, obviously, we discussed Pacquiao Bradley, but we've also had a disgusting scorecard. I don't know if you watched Anselmo Moreno against Abner Mares, the 120 to 106 scorecard. What do we do with judges like this? Do we ban them for good, or do we suspend them for a lengthy period so they can't actually work again for or earn money in that interim period? What is the way forward to actually get rid of this incompetence really?
It's not incompetence. Don't kid yourself.
No.
The Pacquiao Bradley fight, there was a reason why they did that. They know that either they could have done it to teach Bobby Arum a lesson. I think they did it because Manny Pacquiao made them wait to watch a basketball game, and there's a bunch of old, worthless, men who never did anything with their lives, like Don Rafael. Just he's a fat,
we'll get to him.
We'll
get to him.
And they never got anywhere with their lives, and this is what they do. That's the kind of people that judge fights. Because if they were real fighters and they're real and they knew what it's like, they get punched in the face and to be knocked down and get your nose broken and not to be able to see out of your eye. They wouldn't do that to fighters. So it's clearly not incompetence. It's clearly kind of a tacit approval between them and the promoter that's what they're going to do. That's what it's been in Frez's case. Now other fights, but it is not incompetence. They know what they're doing. They get treated to, free meals. They get their $100 or $200 to go to the fights and get out of the house to deal with their wives. They get to travel, and all kinds of different places. I mean, look, you had the IBF, a guy who worked at the IBF that just didn't want to be part of the plan. So they got rid of him, and now he has to sue the IBF. Mm-hmm. So far, I do not respect the IBF and the WBO. The WBC, I think, is the best of the bunch. They've been gentlemen to us. They allowed us to go to the convention and speak on behalf of Frez. They invited us with open arms. The WBA has done the right thing, so I can't say anything about them. But the judges and the commissions, they also tie the hands of the governing bodies, because then if you want to get something overturned, the governing body says, well, that's what it was. What I think there needs to be is a federal commission where these guys either get paid a certain amount or they're not appointed, whatever the deal is. And just like you have, the Supreme Court, and then you have the federal court, and you have a state court, you have courts of appeal where if a guy doesn't like this decision, once a month, these guys get together, and it could be 5 of them, it could be 7 of them, and they get to watch the fight. And now you have to somehow make it where it's fair, because then everyone says, they think they lost. But when you have a fight like Oquendo versus McCall or it's for a belt, first maybe you get the judges of if it's a WBC bout, then you get, let's say, 5 or 7 judges from the WBC. If you're still not happy with the outcome, then maybe you take it to the federal court, like an appellate court, and you take the local judges out of it. And if they find out, let's say they find out that it was a bad decision, and there's 7 guys, and maybe you have a guy like a Tom Hauser or a Teddy Atlas who gives you what he believes. Guys like that are legit. Maybe a couple writers that have nothing to gain, or guys like you. They're out there. And there's 7 guys that say, hey, man, 7 guys say that this guy lost the fight and this guy won it. And they say, well, that you weren't at the fight and you weren't in front. That's all a bunch of bullshit. Let's be serious.
Yeah, that's true.
That has nothing to do with it.
That's very true, because I remember the WBO, they actually did a rerun of the Pacquiao Bradley fight with 5 independent or supposed independent judges, and all 5 scored the fight to Pacquiao. So why didn't they demand a rematch or reverse the decision? It's a disgrace.
Because they're technically not allowed to do that, because so you've got one guy appointed by the governor, who's his friend. So that's like me. Let me go on. I came on your show. I like you. I'm just going to appoint you to be the head of a commission on somebody else's life. And then he's going to get his guys to be judges. And obviously, these guys go to the fights. They get treated to free meals at nice restaurants. I mean, come on. It's so obvious. I mean, you have to be a complete moron. You have to be a complete imbecile to think that it's anything but corruption. I mean, it's a joke. It's not even like up for question. I can look at any fight and tell you who's going to win. I mean, unless there's a knockout, I can guarantee you if you just give me 5 minutes before the fight, I'll look, and I'll tell you, unless there's a really bad knockout, this guy's going to win. You know what I mean? It's that simple. I don't even have to know who's who. I could just look in the corner and see, which if it's like an Al Heyman fighter and who the judge is and who's in whose corner, and you got a promoter and clapping for somebody. Come on, man, you're a promoter. You're not supposed to do that. You see them jumping up and down. You're not a fan. So it's become so blurred that and HBO's to blame, and Showtime's to blame, and ESPN's to blame. You have guys like Teddy Ellis. I mean, look at what Kathy Duva's done to Steve Cunningham when he fought Adamek and Eddie Chambers. I mean, is there any doubt in anybody's mind that these guys own the IBF and the judges and everything in New Jersey? I mean, is there any doubt whatsoever?
Yeah. Cunningham won that fight, personally, in my opinion.
Against Adamek, right?
Yeah.
Against Adamek, the rematch, yeah.
Eddie Chambers beat him with an Adamek shot. That's why they don't want him. That's why they pulled him out. Kubrat Pulev's going to kill that guy if he fights him.
He's not going to fight Pulev, is he?
They're going to try to fight him. They've tried to ask.
Dropped out the fight. He dropped out the fight. I believe Adamek's now going back to Poland to fight now, so he's maybe going to have a rematch against what do you call him? Galota, probably.
I think
that's what they have to do. There's nobody he shot. He's taken so much punishment that Cunningham and Eddie Chambers beat him with one arm. You can't honestly think that Eddie Chambers didn't beat that guy with one arm.
Yeah. But despite the politics of the whole thing, you got to give Adamek credit. Just being a pretty ballsy fighter. He was in some excellent wars.
Yeah, it was though. I mean,
he's done. I agree.
Yeah, sure. I was at both Paul Briggs fights. They were here in Chicago. I thought Briggs pulled at least one of them off, in my opinion. But he's fighting in front of 15,000 Polish people on his promoter's card, and you're not going to give it to some guy from Australia. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, we got to keep it real, man. Because you're lying to yourself if you think that the sport, that's why MMA's taken over. That's why the UFC is selling out arenas, and boxing can't, with the exception of Pacquiao and maybe Mayweather. That's why they didn't do the pay-per-views against Guerrero with Mayweather, from what I hear, because people don't want to watch it anymore. Floyd's a great fighter; it's a little boring.
$70 to watch that last week.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay $70. I still haven't seen it. I didn't pay it for the Pacquiao. That may have been more, may have been worth it for Pacquiao and Marquez because of the knockout. I'm not going to pay $70. Gives Bob Arum $70 and Oscar De La Hoya $70 of my hard-earned money, to get ripped off. Not going to happen. But people need to do it. They got to pick a fight and say we're not going to do it, and they'll learn their lesson. They really will. That's the only way to do it. Is you boycott these guys and don't watch them.
Consumers have to speak with dollars. That's the way that a free market society is supposed to work.
I mean, look at boxing. They can't fill up a phone booth. And guy like Fedor Emelianenko, man. Here's a guy from Russia, doesn't speak a lick of English, and he fills up stadiums in the United States, 15, 20,000 people. It's unheard of. And boxing can't even fill up 200, on an average fight, 300 people. This guy comes from a different country, doesn't speak English, and he fills up arenas. It's unbelievable. Because it's fair and it's right, and you're not going to watch somebody work his ass off and get punched in the face and get brain damage for 12 rounds and get ripped off. You're not going to see that in mixed martial arts.
Andy, I know you had some more questions.
Yeah, Tom, I just want, if I can just change tack for a bit and just discuss the gym and Angelo Dundee for a bit. I believe you actually got a degree in business. Am I right in saying that?
I'm sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
I said I believe you've got a degree in business. Is that correct?
I do have a
yeah.
Not that it's anything to do with that degree in $2 to buy and $10 to buy a cup at Starbucks, but that's about it.
I understand that, but I believe you actually put up your own money to restore the Fifth Street Gym and got some investors involved and stuff like that.
Yes.
Did you have to build it from the ground up again, or did you just work on the shell of the old building, or did you have to
No,
relocate it?
the building, it's in the same location as the original building was, but the building was so run down, they tore it down and put it back up. And we just got lucky that we found a location they had a spot that was open right where it was actually on the same building. You have to go in a different way. You have to go in on Fifth Street. Now you're going on Washington, but it's the whole building on the corner. And we had to build it a little bit. We had to get stuff, but we raised some money and. But yeah, it's going well. It was good. It's a good experience. It's totally different than the old one, but I think the energy's still there. You had David Hay come and train there. Hopkins is trained there. Boutique, Glenn John. We've had all the big names. We have movie stars coming in. Dave Chappelle's been there. The Miami Heat guys have been there. Adriana Lima, who's the Brazilian Victoria's Secret model, she trains there. So we do get like some of the big names, and we still get fighters like David trained there, Frez trains there, Luis Ortiz trains there now. So we have 3 of the top 5 heavyweights in the world training at the gym. That's kind of nice to have. We got some new guys coming there, so it has a lot of good feeling, good energy there. We don't make a lot of money. We break even. Make a few bucks. Obviously, you don't make money off fighters, but we do make money off people that have some money and they want to train in a real boxing gym, and the history of it.
Was it true when the gym reopened? I believe Muhammad Ali and Angelo Dundee were there, that you had to actually close the street because it was that busy.
Yes. It was pretty cool. It was the last time that Manny Stewart, Ferdy Pachenko, Muhammad Ali, Angelo Dundee, they were all together. Now Angelo and Muhammad were together again, and but it was the last time. Bert Sugar. So it was nice to have. We had Bert, we had Angelo, we had Manny, we had Glenn Johnson came, Shannon Briggs came. It was great. It was one of the the highlights of fun in my life, that's for sure. And it was a great night. If you guys want to check out pictures, you can either go to the Fifth Street Gym Facebook page or the website, and you'll see some great, wonderful pictures, old and new, of the gym.
I actually got your invitation this morning actually to join that Facebook page, so I actually checked it out. There's some good pictures there. Yeah. My next 2 questions are kind of subjective actually, just relating to Angie. Over if you go back to the old school years, like obviously like the 1800s, going through the 20s, 30s, 40s, now we've had great trainers like Eddie Futch, Manny Stewart, Ray Arcel, Jackie Blackburn, Whitney Bimstein, Gil Clancy, there's Charlie Goldman, Chicky Ferreira. Yeah. Where would you rank Angelo Dundee? Would you rank him above those guys, top 3, top 4, or something like that?
Me personally, because he was my partner and I learned under him, my mentor, I always like to say he was the greatest, but I just don't know enough. Freddie did what he did with Packett. There's always one guy that, Angelo had Ali and Leonard. Freddie has, he had James, and he has Manny. And Manny Stewart had Tommy Hearns, so they always have their one great. Customato had, Floyd Patterson and Mike Tyson. So they're all different. It's who you click with. Angelo, there was just something special about him, and I knew Manny Stewart very well. And they were both just, I used to talk with Manny, man, come on, give Frez a shot at Klitschko, because we wanted him and Angelo at Madison Square Garden to be on either corner with, it would have been just such a great thing to do. And he said, you get Frez back up there, you get him, give me a reason, I'll tell Vlad to do it. But sadly, he passed away when we got there, I got to work with Freddie Roach. I saw what he was good at. So they all have their own special thing, Eddie Futch with Frazier. So, yeah, they all have – you can't really – it's hard to say who is the best, you know what I mean? Yeah, Angelo was just one of those guys that you wanted to make him happy. You wanted to be around him. He never had a negative, bad thing to say about anyone. I just don't know how he does it because I hate just about everybody. So he was just a very, and Manny was the same way, they were 2 different guys. Angelo knew how to, look at a fighter, and I don't know, there's just something about them. I can't put my finger on it, Angelo was special, and so was Manny. And, I can't really rate them. There's no way for me to rate them. They're all, it just depends, which fighter, Leonard, when Leonard fought, Tommy Hearns, it was really the fighter. You can't, but Angelo said, you're blowing it. That's all it took for him to say that. There was a guy who wanted a house in the corner one time, and Angelo said, he's losing the fight. He said, you know what? That guy across the ring is taking your house. Guy went in there and knocked him out because he wanted that house for his family. That's all he cared about, was getting a house for his family. And he knew that.
According to Angelo, he entered the camp for the Hagler fight against Leonard 2 weeks before the fight, or 3 weeks before the fight, and they noticed straight away that Leonard was actually circling it into Hagler's strongest hand, which was actually his right hand, and totally changed the game plan. And apparently that's the reason why Leonard ended up fighting off the back foot. The other question was, without Angelo Dundee in Muhammad Ali's corner, does Ali beat Henry Cooper and Sonny Liston in the first fights, do you think?
Good question. Good question. Yeah, I think he had it in him. I think Angelo helped. I think he was a young kid who was, cocky and stuff. So probably, but those are really good questions. Those are two big things, getting him that extra time. I mean, he was out. I mean, when you see him coming back, Cooper really laid him out, and I'm pretty good friends. So I show it to him all the time, when we're together. I mean, I've seen probably Ali Frazier, Ali Foreman. I've seen those fights, 25, 30 times with Ali. And, he doesn't like the part where he goes down because I'm always stopping and pointing, and he gives me that look like, don't show this anymore. But that's a tough call, man. I think he could have won either way, to be honest with you, because he really helped, those are two critical things in his career that could have turned things around, I mean, he was great. I mean, guy had a chin, he had everything. But those are the small things in his youth that he probably needed more than that. Maybe if it had happened, 10 years later, it would have been a big difference. But at that critical time in his career, still being young, inexperienced, and not quite Muhammad Ali yet, I think it's a very good chance that it wouldn't have turned out the same way.
Yeah. Just one other quick question about the gym. I've noticed there's quite a few Cubans in the Florida area. Is there any Cuban fighters in the gym who should be keeping a lookout for in the future or anything like
that? Yes, right now there's a kid, Luis Ortiz. He's number 2. He's actually ahead of Fred's. He's a Cuban with 300 amateur fights, and he was average. He's a good fighter, but now that he's doing his conditioning in Fifth Street Gym with my partner Dino and training there, and we're his trainers, I think the guy's gotten probably 50 to 60% better, and he will give people. And then we're going to be sparring with him this week. Frez is going down for our fight June 8th, so they'll be sparring together. So you're going to have 2 of the top 5 fighters in the world, heavyweights, sparring with each other. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So if anyone's in Miami, I would definitely come and check that out, because you're not going to get that kind of action in a gym and sparring very often.
Good. I've got a few other questions, but I'll open up to the other guys, see if they've got any other questions ahead.
I'd like to do some Klitschko bashing if we have a minute.
I was just going to ask you about the Klitschko's, Tom. What do you think about
any Klitschko fans there? Bring them on.
Actually, our editors are way out just now.
What do you think about their hustle over in Germany, then? The fact that they pay fighters maybe 10% of the money and what have you,
I'm sorry, one more time.
What do you think about what the Klitschko's doing over in Germany? They bring these opponents over, they pay them like 10% of the money and that, What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you can't blame them. They're filling up arenas with these guys. They're making their money. They're a big thing over there. I see what people react when I say something about the Klitschko's. But look at the caliber of guys he's fought. They fought David Hay, and David trained at my gym. I really thought David was going to pull it off. And barring his broken, foot, toe, whatever, because they probably did have a little bit to do with it. I think he probably would have lost anyway. But Klitschko's, much like Fred's, he's a very cagey, very experienced, very smart fighter who just got better under Emanuel Stewart, and that's the fighter that everybody knows. Now, if you go back a few years, and you look at the fact that Ross Purity knocked him out, that Layman Brewster, a 6'2" guy, without a lot of talent, knocked him out, and that Corey Sanders knocked him out. That says a lot, man. The guy he wasn't like down. He was out. He was in La La Land, and it was embarrassing, and he was out, and he was stumbling, and people seem to forget about that because he hasn't fought anybody who can do that to him anymore. He's gotten better, but Vitaly Klitschko quit in the corner. You guys mentioned Sonny Liston. Vitaly Klitschko quit in the corner against a light heavyweight, which is what Bird really was. He went down to fight light heavyweight, a cruiserweight. He walked around at 205 pounds. And, as he got stronger, he got bitch slapped by Chris Bird, and he quit in the corner. That's the only way you can put it. He quit.
I agree with that, because you get the Klitschko fans saying that he turned his shoulder and that, but he was fighting hard until Chris Bird started coming on, because Bird did start coming on that fight, and as soon as Bird started adding the pressure, Vitaly to me looked like he wanted to be out that fight.
I think when Vitaly started he couldn't bully his way around with a guy like Chris Bird. I think he broke down mentally. You could say he hurt his shoulder and whatever. Fred stopped the guy with a broken hand. What I mean? That hurts just as much. Andrei Arlovsky, who's a UFC guy, I just saw him the other day. He broke his jaw in the first round, and he continued 2 more rounds. That's what fighters do. The guy quit. Gotti beat Mickey Ward with a broken hand. Vitaly quit. Any way we look at it, you can try to spin it. You can make, you could say up, down, whatever. The guy quit against a guy half his size.
He also quit as well in the amateurs against Oleg Maskayev when he broke his hand. He came out that fight as well.
Who did?
Vitaly, he quit against Maskayev in the amateurs after he broke his hand.
Yeah, but it's the amateurs. I mean, we talk about. I know. I'm just giving you guys the word of what he did when he fought. And people hold him up like they're the greatest guys in the world. They're the best. And right now, they are the best. But you can't tell me that the fight against Albert Sosnowski and the fight against Francesco Pianeta are really challenging fights. I mean, he fought Derek Chisora coming off a loss. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying it because it's my guy, but Faisal Kendall is definitely a guy who's got the credentials to go in there. I know I sent him to camp against Vitaly to see what the guy's got, and he wouldn't go more than 3 rounds with Fred. Fred's gave him a black eye, but never got hit by him. Was too fast for him, and that's why they won't fight him. It's that simple. They've got nothing to gain by fighting Fred. Fred, they will not bully Fred. They won't knock him out. They better be ready for 12 rounds, and Fred's going to take a punch. And he'll take Vitaly's couple shots, and he won't get hit more than once clean. But let's see if Vitaly can take that jab, moving left and right, and let's see when he feels one of Fred's overhand rights. We'll see what happens. Because Vitaly felt them. And people were there to see what happened.
Tom.
I'm sorry?
Just on the point of the Klitschko's previous opponents, just last week, I actually put Fraser Quendo's name forward as a potential next opponent for one of the Klitschkos, and I was shot down in flames by some of the Klittites. They were saying that he's shit, he's 40 years old, he's lost to Tua, this, that, and the next thing. And my counter argument is this: you look at Vitaly's, last few fights, Manuel Char, Derek Chisora, Thomas Adamek. The only person I thought really had a good chance against him was probably Solis. And we saw what happened there with the knee injury. And you go to Vladimir Klitschko, you've got Pianeta, Wack, Thompson, Mormek, who's a cruiserweight coming up. David Hay, obviously, I'm disappointed in that one. Samuel Peter, Eddie Chambers. What is it? What does Fraser need to do to really get this fight? Does he need to take the David Hay route and start wearing T-shirts with severed heads on it and stuff like that to try and get this fight?
That's not his personality. I mean, I try to do as much of it as I can for him. But, I got close. They had the opportunity to do it. Number 5, they had a voluntary. And, what they do is everyone's got that whole Borat thing down. Like, hey, this is Vladimir. They put that this is an insult to gay people, but they rub themselves with oil, walk around half naked. The guy's so weak that he broke up with his girlfriend, and he gets back together with her because he was too weak to be man up and not get back together with her. He's kind of an embarrassment.
He got engaged last week.
Yeah, he couldn't even stay broken up with a girl. I mean, she comes running back, probably went and slept with 20 different guys, and then she goes back, he's going to have somebody else's leftovers. I'd be embarrassed, to be honest with you, But he's weak. Everyone thinks they're these great, strong. He comes across like those guys are ruthless, man. Don't buy into their BS. They play that shucks, that whole Jethro shucks. We're just nice, and they hide behind their guys, and they hide behind RTL. RTL doesn't want to buy Frez. Give me a break, man. Them and HBO, and then they'll buy Jameel McCline, and they'll buy this guy. They're all basically full of crap. All of them are. I don't believe a word that they say. And the Klitschkos, I guarantee you, Fresno Kendo would never lose and get knocked out by Layman Brewster, Corey Sanders, or Ross Purdy. Never, ever. He got hit with David Tua's best shot clean, and he took him. Sure, they stopped it and whatever, you can argue, but he's been hit by everybody, man. And the Klitschko's are not, they're not going to be able to do anything to him, and they know it. I know he's got a better chin than Vladimir. He's got the same reach as Vladimir Vitali, and he fights either one of those guys. Those guys are in for a fight and a long night. And there's a possibility that A, they're going to for sure look bad, B, they're going to lose rounds, and C, there's a good chance they're going to lose, even though they're going to have everything stacked in their favor with the same judges and the referees to get the decision. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think
they have nothing to gain. And they're scared. Not scared I'm scared of Fresno Kendo, but they'll be embarrassed for sure. People see what they're made out of. They'll be exposed by Freds. I know that.
I think the biggest thing is that Fraser's in shape, and they don't really fight people that are in shape that come over to America. If you look at guys like Hasim Rahman and Tony Thompson.
Well, I think that's part of the problem with the heavyweight division in a sense is a lot of heavyweights aren't really heavyweights. It's just they're cruiserweights that got fat, and that's where they go.
Yeah. I mean, look at Deontay Wilder, man. Here's a guy, who's got everything going for him. The guy's running around, Europe looking to smoke pot and then gets arrested for choking out a girl. How stupid is he?
Yeah.
Seth Mitchell. Everyone used to tell me Seth Mitchell this, and I was like, I rolled my eyes. I said, the guy, you guys got to relax. Everyone's like, he's the next greatest thing. He got knocked out by a cruiserweight in a round.
Look at his legs. He's got all that muscle on top, and he's got nothing below. Look at his legs are like I don't know, they're like Bambi's. They're like Bambi's. Honestly, they're that thin.
Brian Jennings will be the next guy. Deontay's got some amateur pedigree, but if he's doing the stuff that he's doing now, man, he's going to get exposed too. He's never been hit either, so I don't know when he gets touched on the chin, what's going to happen. He's got some good pedigree. He's got skinny legs too. He's got this, but he's got some stuff. Same thing with that Price guy in England. Was it David Price?
Yeah.
He was the next guy who's going to take over the world. He got a guy like Tony Thompson went in there, taught him a lesson, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Well, so he has got a dodgy chin anyway. I mean, we've known Price from the amateurs. We watched him through the Olympics now. And
this is all I say about Frez. There's no way he's going to do worse than Francesco Pianeta, Tomas Adamek, and some of these other guys. There's no possible way he's going to do worse than them. I don't care what you do. He's not going to do worse than, or Solis. It's impossible. He's not going to get knocked down around. He's not going to come in fat and blow out his knee. He's not going to sit there and take punches like Adamek for 8 straight rounds and not even win a second. I guarantee you he'll hit either Klitschko upside the head a few times. That I promise you.
Would the team be willing to take on a fight with an American heavyweight to compete for position? Someone like a Deontay Wilder, Bryant Jennings, a Malik Scott, or the winner of Banks and Mitchell?
Sure, we've offered. You know what? Here's what they do. Like, yeah, we'll pay you $10,000 to fight on our card, and I'll say, you know what? We'll pay you $20. You fight on ours. Never hear the phone. Golden Boy's not going to let this guy go. They're going to want us to go there. If they get an HBO date, they want to go on their terms. And we're number 5 in the world right now. We worked our way up. We took the hard fights. We up and down. So unless it's on our terms, why should we fight you for $10,000 in your hometown, but then you won't fight us for $20,000 or $30,000 in a neutral area? We went to the WBC convention, and what's his name? That's Samson Lefkowitz, who's got Magomed. Anyone in the top 15 in the WBC who wants to fight Magomed, we'll fight him anywhere for free. Give the guy a call, send him an email, said, okay, we got a date here at the casino on, whatever, May 10th. We'll see you there. Well, I'll offer you $30,000 to come fight him. No, that's not what you said. You said that you'll fight anybody in the top 15 for free, anywhere.
That guy's a knockout waiting to happen. His footwork coming in is horrible. He gets squared up, and he's going to get cracked.
That's Abdul Salamov, isn't it?
Yeah. But all these guys, they all say, I'll fight anybody. Fred's the only guy who's actually done it. He went to Texas to fight Holyfield, in his second home. He went to California to fight James Toney. He went to fight Chris Bird. He did. We went to fight McCall. We went to France to fight Mormac. You know what? We walked the walk, talked the talk, and got screwed. So why should we keep doing that? For what purpose? What's it going to get for us at this point in his career?
Tom, just to go back to the Vitaly Klitschko sparring session afterwards, what actually happened? I believe they dropped him and left him in Poland. Is that correct? And they asked him to get his own way back to America. Is that correct?
Well, he went to Austria, sparred Vitali, and we kind of wanted to get on the card, but they offered us this is 50,000 people in Poland. You know what I mean? And they wanted us to fight for $10,000. That mortician, Tom Loeffler, guy walks out in a black suit and a black tie, looks like a mortician, and we said, it's not, we want it to be fair, if it's going to be like that, we want, this and that, to keep it fair. They didn't want to do anything. And Fred says, you know what, I'll take a pass on it. No, thank you. So when he got to Poland, he kind of tried to get Fred, he left them there and didn't want to get him a room. And, and they start crying. We want our $500 back that we had to pay to change the ticket and all this.
$500?
And they didn't pay him the full amount for sparring with Vitali. They kind of cut it short. That's because he was, slapping Vitali around. I think Vitali lost his confidence. Not that Adamek was going to beat him. Don't get me wrong, but I think that he was getting frustrated and he kept stopping sparring. He's like, why is he hitting me with the jab? And just their ego cannot handle it. They've got that big ego and they're arrogant. They've got that Ukrainian German arrogance, man. Just in their blood.
Yeah.
Part Nazis, I guess.
I've got a question regarding another favourite individual of yours, Dan Raphael. I don't know if you've ever noticed any of his comments on Twitter or on the internet or anything like that, but the guy is a walking contradiction. He lauds the guys like Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather for their masterful performances, but then he shits on a guy like Rigondeaux's performance against Donaire. So I just wonder what your take is on the guy, because he works for ESPN. He has got a big platform to speak to people, and I just think the way he comes across sometimes, he's arrogant, he's cocky. I just don't think he knows shit about boxing, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, his they'll come too. I mean, he can talk all he wants. When you look at the way Frez fights, he doesn't fight a whole lot different than Mayweather. Maybe a little more exciting because he's a heavyweight. Very defensive minded. He's a counter puncher, fast, smart. Floyd Mayweather's the best pound for pound fighter in the world, who's got some money behind him. He's got a name, so he's made it big. A guy like Frez just a lot more humble, and he called the fight, the Mormick fight, robbery of the year. But then when Frez's name comes up to fight Klitschko. And yeah, I don't read any. I don't even have Twitter, man. I don't read anything. I would not waste a minute of my time except for that letter I wrote, to put him in his place.
That was quality, mate. That was quality.
Thank you. Well, I could see if you say he shouldn't get the fight, but to demean him and start talking, about a family guy who's got a nonprofit and tries to do good in the world, You want to talk about Floyd Mayweather? Great, talk about him, but Frez never had to go through a window and go to jail for beating up his ex-girlfriend. He's too mentally strong to break down like that. He doesn't yell at security guards. He doesn't put on female stockings. He doesn't do any of the stuff, doesn't beat his wife. He doesn't he doesn't do these things. You know what I mean? So these guys want to talk about, Rafael wants to go out there and talk about these guys, but then, you want to personally attack a guy for trying to just get a shot at a title that I thought he won against Chris Bird. Not too many people argue against it. So it's not like he got knocked out and he's fat and overweight and he's trying to get another payday. This guy was right there. He fought Chris Bird. He won fair and square, and he was cheated out of it. And he's worked his way back up with a lot of ups and downs, a lot of robberies, a lot of fights, proving himself. He's got the chin and, fighting really durable, strong guys. And then you're going to make fun of him, never having been in a ring before? Come on, man. That's pathetic. You just showed yourself to be a pathetic human being. And you don't even have enough discipline to stay away from a buffet table at an all-you-can-eat buffet. This guy probably gets the owner pissed off at him every time he goes to a buffet because he eats everything.
It doesn't say all you can eat here. I'm sure that's his motto.
Oh, that could be it too.
So,
yeah, maybe.
Tom, I mean, when you're looking at the year ahead for Frace, what's kind of the plan of action as far as trying to move him into position for a bigger fight?
Right now, we're fighting June 8th. We're fighting a decent guy, Derek Rossi. He's come a little short when he stepped up to the big guys, but Eddie
Povetkin, that guy.
Pardon me?
Right. Did he fight Povetkin, that Derek Rossi?
I don't know if he fought for Bet. I don't think he fought him. Maybe he did.
He fought Eddie Chambers.
Is it
He fought
Chambers?
Eddie Chambers twice.
He was in Prize Fighter as well.
Austin stopped him, but he did. He made it to the final of the Prize Fighter. I think it was tighter. When he fought Kubrat Pulev, he was doing really well and scoring on him. I think there was a really early stoppage because he fought him over there. And Kubrat's, he's getting ready to fight for world title, so he's pretty good. So I mean, it can go either way. You know what I mean? Obviously we see Fred's probably winning the fight, but it's not going to be a walk in the park, first round knockout kind of thing. But it's going to be for the WBA Latino. I think we're going to get approved for the NABA, and we're fighting for the WBC USMBC. So he's number 5 right now. After this win, we're hoping that the WBA moves him up to number 2 or 3, right in there. Pavetka's fighting Klitschko, so that leaves us open to fight for the regular WBA championship, hopefully in the fall. And we've also been invited to the World Cup of Boxing, which is a new thing the WBC is doing. It's going to be like the World Cup of soccer, and it's going to be the greatest thing in boxing with the chance to fight for the title and win $1 million. So at least the WBC and Jose Suleiman, they catch a lot of heat for stuff, but the guy, whatever he does, he is fair. We went to the convention. They let us speak in front of everyone. They ask you for the facts. Why should we do it? And, they listen to us, man. They care about what the fighters have to say. So that's my personal opinion, that we're very, very happy to be fighting for the WBA Latino, or the Fed Latin actually, and the NABA, and for the 2 organizations that have been so good and fair to us. We're really grateful. I think we'll get a title shot hopefully by the end of the year, even if it's for just the regular and not one of the Klitschkos. I don't think they'll fight us. I think that ship has sailed personally.
And on the subject of Jose Suleiman, a lot of people would disagree with you, thinking because some things with the WC rankings, the certain things they're agreeing to, like coming up.
Amir Khan.
Amir Khan being ranked number 2 at 147 without having fought in the division. Now there's talk that Chavez Jr. will have a chance for the regular title against Martin Murray in August after winning a total of 90 seconds of the fight with the champion. So. Can you?
It was a big 90 seconds he had, though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I'm sure you're really excited.
Let me paint some pictures for you. Some guys do it, in my humble opinion. Look, there's friendships. We're on the show here. We're going to be nice to each other. Versus if somebody off the street, let's say Dan Rafael came here, I would give him the time of day, and he is at ESPN. So people do develop relationships. The difference is when you develop a relationship based on loyalty by both parties versus the IBF that just takes bribes and money from, Russell Peltz and, Kathy Duva. That's a different kind of loyalty. You know what I mean? Fred's fought for the IBF championship and got robbed. And when I was talking to Daryl Peoples, he said, I go, you were at the fight? He goes, well, I don't remember it. Now, you're the president of the IBF, and you were at a fight with a guy who's held a title for a few years for the heavyweight championship, and you don't remember it? Either he's an idiot or he's lying. So the WBC may have some people that have been there that they have a friendship to. Obviously, Julio Cesar Chavez is a famous fighter. That's his son. They're from Mexico. So there's going to be, I don't want to use the word nepotism, but they're going to look a little bit more towards that to kind of help their own. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. All I can tell you is the way I've been treated with no favors from different people. I've had people hang up the phone on me, which is rude. I've never had any of the Suleimans do anything but return. And they don't have to talk to me. I'm really a nobody. But you know what? When I send an email to Mauricio, he responds. They welcomed us to the convention with open arms, and they didn't have to. And we weren't ranked. We went there because we were invited. And he took care of Frez. And, they gave an award for Angel. So they treated us, and the same thing with the WBA. They're gentlemen about it. Nobody's going to always get it right. You know what I mean? Of course, when you're the son of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in Mexico, you're gonna get something maybe above and beyond somebody like me's gonna get. And I understand that. You can't be upset about that so long as they still do the right thing most of the time.
Do you think that's because the WBC takes a percentage of the purse as their sanctioning fee, and they know Chavez is going to make more money and they're going to make more money?
Nah, I mean, they're set. Jose Suleiman's been here for 50 years. He's the longest running president of any sports organization in the world. It's not about that. Those guys have money. They've been around for 50 years. They're all over the world. We can't look at it, they're in like how many different countries they make just as much off 10 small fights, at $1,000 than they're going to make off of one big fight. They're not going to, so they're going to make their money as a governing organization regardless. Now, maybe you get the old man pushing him and saying, come on, and maybe he'll succumb because he's not the kind of guy that likes to say no to people, because he's a good guy, man. I'm telling you, I didn't know him that well, but until I got to know them and see how they handle things and how professional they are, they're not always going to get it right. But at least with me, they've tried. I wrote him a letter, I explained it to them, and they're not going to play favorites with me, but they're going to give me the same chance they give mostly everybody else. But you got a guy like Don King who's got millions, and you got a guy like me who's got nothing. They still have to survive, but they'll still do the right thing. At least they have done it by me. So, and a lot of people disagree. They just they like to throw bombs out at people, but they've been good to me so far, and they haven't had to be. So we'll see. And same thing with the WBA. And you know what? The IBF is Americans, man. They can help Freds. We live in America. We fought for them. We fought for their title. We fought for the USBA and won. And they've treated us like garbage for no reason whatsoever. So how can I say anything nice about them? When you got these people from Mexico and these guys from Canada who are doing the right thing for a guy.
Let me ask you this, because you focused in on the IBF. This week we're actually going to be previewing the fight between Lamont Peterson and Lucas Matisse coming up, which is contested at 141 pounds.
Okay.
Given the situation with Peterson and his victory over Khan in DC, where the IBF was involved, do you think, for whatever reason, that they're trying to keep someone like Matisse out of the title because they have someone else lined up down the road to take on Peterson?
I don't know enough about that particular situation, but if there's some kind of money to be made for themselves personally or for them as an organization, the IBF, that's what they're going to do, what's best for them. They can care less about the fighter. They can care less about anything. It's what they can put in their pocket. That I know about. I don't believe that the WBC, I don't know, the WBO, I have not been treated well, even though, Frez has held titles in all four divisions, you know what I mean? So there's no reason for them not to be good to him. Unless, is it a coincidence that at the IBF that all of the top fighters in the heavyweight division are with big, huge promoters with a lot of money? Is that a coincidence? That Goosen had Areola up there for I don't know how many years, even though he lost. Samuel Peter, when he was with Bob Arum, never got dropped to below 6 or 7. Eddie Chambers, Tomas Adamek. Is it a coincidence that Frez Oquendo was dropped before the month was over when he lost in France but didn't get knocked out while he was a USBA champion? Maybe it's a coincidence, and I'm just a conspiracy theorist thinking something's going on. But, man, if it smells like a fish, it swims like a fish, and it's got fins, it's a fish.
Going on, because you got a lot of interesting thoughts, dealing with people within the business. And I believe you said earlier that Frez was promoted by Don King.
Back in the day, yeah.
What are your feelings on Don King? And are you always shocked when people sign with him? Because it seems if you're a Don King fighter, you're fighting twice a year at most.
Yeah, that never used to be the case, and we've thought about even going back. I know he wanted us back, and I have a good relationship with Dana over there, and we have talked to them, and we have signed with them actually, but we couldn't get out of another contract, and they knew that going in, so they've been very cool with us. Again, you got to know going in what you're dealing with, and Don got Bervain Stavern a shot against Areola. He beat him, but he put him in the right position to do that. And, this is a guy who got knocked out by Demetrius King in a couple rounds. Some say it was premature, but, it was a Don King card with a Don King fighter. And Frez knocked out, he stopped Demetrius King, who's another tough cookie. So he will get you there. He's got the right connections and the right pull and the clout. He just doesn't do enough shows nowadays. He's 80-something years old. I didn't really have too much dealing with him. I'm not going to say, his reputation, I'm sure, precedes him. But, the couple of he's Don King, man. What you see is what you get.
Tommy, did you have anything else? Tommy.
I've got.
Tom or the other Tom?
No, Tommy. I think you might be on mute or something there. Andy, go ahead.
Tom, just a quick question. Oh, I've got two questions for you actually, just before we let you go. I flew out to Germany for the Hay Klitschko fight, and I was at the weigh-in, and I stood for 5 hours, and the atmosphere was amazing. I was so pumped for the fight, and I personally felt that David's best chance of winning that fight, he had to start quick, early, because I felt if Vladimir got into his rhythm, got jabbing and stuff like that, the longer that fight went, it was going to suit him. Would you agree that probably Hay should have actually maybe started quicker, maybe just threw caution to the wall, or you just think that maybe Vladimir was just better on the night?
I think what happens, a lot of people, they think certain things, but once they get in the ring, everything, it's the old adage, like, everyone's got a plan until they get hit. So until he got in there, maybe he hadn't known. He didn't have the experience to really, and I told him, I said, the only way, I don't want to tell you that you're going to lose, but the only way that this guy could beat you is if because I've seen it with Frez. There's guys that are bigger, stronger, all these things. Frez knows how to neutralize them all, because of his experience. And he probably has more experience than even Vlad and Vitaly with the sparring that he's done, because he's been in there with David, he's been in there with Valiev, he's been in there with Vitaly, Eddie Chambers, Chris Arreola. I don't think there's a guy in the, you pick a guy, Frez has been there in the last 20 years, he's been in the ring with him. So these guys know what to do. Same thing with our guy Ortiz. There's nothing in 300 amateur fights and sparring this guy hasn't seen. He knows every trick in the book. And I think David went in there confident, overconfident, and you're probably right. He should have went for broke. But, people make fun of him because he had a broken toe. But you know what? If you have anything broken, when you're fighting the best fighter in the world at the time and you've had great nights in your life, you're going to have an off night. You need everything that you can, and you don't back out of a fight with a broken toe if you're making 25 million pounds. So, he did the best he could. He should have probably not mentioned anything about, the injury, because nobody cares and they don't think of it. They look at it as an excuse. And I think what you just said is absolutely correct. And he probably should have started off quicker and went for the knockout early on before Vladimir got in his groove. I agree with that.
Yeah. I've actually sparred bigger guys myself, actually, and it's actually, what you said there's quite true. Once you get in the ring and you've got a big guy walking towards you and stuff like that, it's a totally different ballgame altogether. There was a fight a couple of years back in the UK between George Groves and James DeGale.
Yes.
I believe, was it right that George sparred Andre Durrell in your gym?
I'm the one that hooked that up, yes, absolutely.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
How did George look in that sparring session?
Andre had been off for a really long time, and that was his first sparring session back after all that stuff had happened. So he was a little bit off. But when he started getting his groove in the second or third session, he was getting back. It was great sparring. It was really good. Yeah, and they had great time. I've got some of it on video somewhere. I think I may have posted it too. But out of respect to them, I didn't post anything too much. But it was good. It was really exciting. David was there, and George Grohl. I mean, what a nice kid. He was just one of the best kids, and Andre's a good guy. Just a fantastic experience for us to see that. Yeah, it was very exciting at the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, I was just going to say, he's actually over in Denmark just now sparring Mikkel Kessler.
That's what I heard, yeah. He's sparring Kessler to get ready. Yeah. Kessler, but Froch is a southpaw, so I don't understand.
Froch isn't a southpaw. He's orthodox.
Oh, no. No, is he a southpaw?
No, he's orthodox.
Froch isn't a southpaw, he's orthodox, mate.
No, who's the... Oh, I'm thinking of, what's his name, man?
Kawasaki.
No, not Kawasaki. Who's the other guy who's a southpaw over there? Not Butte.
Oh, DeGale.
DeGale's a southpaw. No, Carl Froch is right. He's not a southpaw. You're right. He's orthodox. I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Kawasaki, Butte, and who else? That's it, right? Is there another southpaw over there? Am I missing someone?
No, but DeGale's actually more a kind of switch hitter. He sometimes kind of moves stances sometimes.
That's why we got Andre Durrell to help him out because of that, because he switches a lot.
I think Groves and Durrell, they were very complimentary of each other after the spars.
Yeah. Are they going to fight again, you think?
Yeah, but it'll be for a world title.
A world title fight, I think it will need to happen before it happens again. Groves has said he's not interested in the rematch just now because I don't think there's a lot of money in it just now. He said I think it'll need to be a world title fight before that happens. So I think Groves is looking at probably Robert Stieglitz after his fight in May 25th. He's on the Kessler-Froch undercard, I believe.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, they're the same weight. That'll be good sparring for them.
Yeah. Well, he's actually had Nathan Cleverly over sparring Kessler as well. Just on that point, what do you think of the rematch between Froch and Kessler? How do you think it will go?
I always liked Mikel Kessler. I always thought he was tough, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you got two guys that really like to duke it out and go head on. Not a whole lot of boxing there, you know. So I don't think you can go wrong with that fight, and it could be a pick'em.
Yeah, I'm a big Kessler fan myself. Actually, I just think that the fact that he's only fought 13 rounds in about 3 years, and the fact that Froch is in a crest of a wave just now, I just think, I just hope that maybe Mikel he's got that one big last performance in him.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so.
Well, you spoke of Durrell. Do you know if we'll ever see him in the ring again? I mean, having a chance to get to know him a little bit, at least in the gym. I mean, he is so chronically inactive, canceling fights. I just, I don't know what to think.
I think that did him a lot of damage psychologically. I don't think they'll ever recover from. I don't know that. I'm not saying that from any knowledge that I have, but I think that might be something he might not be able to recover from.
From the Abraham fight you're thinking about, or something else?
Cheap shot. I think that might be something that, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But that's my gut feeling tells me that.
He fought in February, didn't he?
I think he's fought.
I think he's only fought once. I think it was December 2012. I think.
Yeah, he had a fight. He was scheduled for Friday night fights in April, and he pulled out.
He had a fight in February this year.
Huh. He's been out
10 rounds. It was a 10-rounder.
What a talent that kid was. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I think he actually
he fought in February, won 10 rounds against Michael Jabenga.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought he beat Froch actually, and I personally felt that he was maybe tiring slightly down the stretch against Abraham, because I thought Abraham was starting to pick it up a wee bit until that illegal blow landed.
Yeah. No, I think he beat Froch too.
I actually think I had a draw, but the point off was.
Hey guys, I hate to cut. Hey, I hate to cut this short, but I got a meeting. I have to go be there at 4:00.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. We really, really appreciate you coming on. If there's anything else you'd just like to maybe tell everyone about the show you have planned with Fress on it in Chicago.
Yeah, I'd love to. Remember, June 8th, guys, for 3 belts. It'll put Frez right in line for a title. June 8th at the Horseshoe Casino. You guys can go to fifthstreetgym.com to check out the gym. And then, obviously, on Facebook, you can find Frez or I to find anything out about the fight. And whoever's, listening to this locally, come support us. And when we get that shot for the title, we'd love everybody's support and come back on the show, hopefully. You guys have been very nice to us.
Well, absolutely, and we appreciate you, Tom. And that he's going against Derek Rossi, correct?
Correct. So far, Derek Rossi, we should have a contract signed this weekend.
Excellent, because that's not on BoxRec or anywhere yet. So we appreciate the info on that, Tom, and best of luck to you and Frace in June.
All right, thank you. And then you guys send me a copy. Love to have it to put it on Frez's Facebook page.
Will do.
No problem.
Will do.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Thanks for your time,
have
mate.
Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, ciao.
Cheers.